Hi everyone, and welcome to video 2 for lesson 5.5, Indirect Proof and Inequalities in One Triangle. So we're going to be talking about indirect proof, which is also known as proof by contradiction. And there are several steps to do when you're trying to do an indirect proof. This is definitely not as formal as a two-column proof. It's more of writing out your reasoning and making sure that you are reasoning using theorems and definitions and things like that. So the first thing that you do is that you assume that the conclusion is false, and then you need to show that this is going to lead to a contradiction in something that has been assumed. So you identify the conjecture you need to prove, assume the opposite of the conclusion, and a lot of times these statements will have a not in it, so prove that it can't have something, or prove that this is not that. So usually you take out the not, and that makes your new statement. It's a negation of this. Or you add in a not. So show that a triangle cannot have an angle over 180 degrees. You would take out the not. Show that a triangle can have a 90-degree angle. You'd add in a not. That's how this kind of works. And then you use direct reasoning to show the assumption leads to a contradiction. You can use any of the theorems, postulates, definitions, anything that we have, but show that something you assumed is not going to be true if this is right. And then we write our final conclusion that since the assumption is false, the original conjecture is true. Now, this does take some practice. It's not something you're going to get right away, but it is a great tool if you're going into some sort of career that requires, proving a point where you have to argue what you believe to be true. This is a great way of showing somebody how certain reasoning is false and how your reasoning must be true. So it really is a good method for creating a good argument. So let's take a look at an indirect proof. Example 1, we're asked to write an indirect proof that a right triangle cannot have an obtuse angle. So the first thing we're going to assume is that a right triangle can have an obtuse angle. So that's our assumption. Now what you're going to do, you're going to pause the video, start with that assumption, see if you can figure out why it's false, okay? And then hit play, see how I did it. There are lots of ways to do this, lots of different ways to work through it. So if yours doesn't exactly match mine, that's okay. It might still be good. So I started out by writing my assumption. Assume that a right triangle can have an obtuse angle. Then I created a fictional triangle. Let triangle ABC have right angle A and obtuse angle B. Now we know that in a triangle, all the angles have to add to 180. So I said angle A plus angle B plus angle C equals 180 degrees. And I also said that we have a right angle, angle A, so that has to be 90 degrees. And I put that in, and I subtracted 90 on both sides to get measure of angle B plus measure angle C equals 90. This means that angle B and angle C must both be less than 90, because if they add to 90, neither one of them can be more than 90. So angle B can't be obtuse, which is more than 90 degrees. And this is a contradiction. Therefore, a right triangle cannot have an obtuse angle. So do you see how that worked? I assumed it could. I made a triangle. Sometimes you have to make these things up, and that's okay. But I made a triangle that meets the criteria up here. It's a right triangle, and it has an obtuse angle. Then I use facts that I know. I know the triangle sum theorem. I know the definition of a right angle. I can substitute. I can subtract. And then I also knew obtuse angles have to be more than 90 degrees, and that wasn't what I had. So I used all facts that I knew to create something that is a contradiction. So you're going to try it. Check it out. Number 1 is your next task. So on that separate sheet of paper you've been working on your check it out questions on, please do this one. Write an indirect proof that a triangle cannot have 2 right angles. Now, I know this is hard. I know it's new. Please do the best you can on this. It's okay not to get to the end. It's okay to talk to a friend and see if they can help you, okay? So we are going to practice this more. Don't panic if you don't get it right away. So have a great day. Hopefully I'll see you soon.